So, everyone, thank you again for joining us on Combustible Elements. We're going to tell you we had a first last week. YouTube took us down. They didn't like what we had to say. You had two people against the vaccine, you had one for the vaccine. They said we giving out false information. So, I'm going to start this episode saying this. The topics that we discussed today are our opinion and our personal views about these topics. So, there are our opinions, so don't come with the facts. This is for whoever's pushing the button for YouTube. Pay attention, because I don't think they listen to the whole damn thing. I'm calling them out. Now, our topic today, we're going to talk about with the Delta strain of the variant, or the Delta variant going around of COVID, is it safe for our kids to go back to school? And we're going to comment on stuff that we hear in the media and what people say. So, Aaron, how do you feel about kids going back to school while we still in the pandemic?
Well, in my opinion, because I'm gonna give my opinion, I don't think that is safe, personally, because they won't be able to tell the difference between a common cold, the flu, and the variant or any virus whatsoever. So, I mean, they didn't get a handle on the common cold, so I don't think that it's safe for them to send kids into school, um, as long as we're still in a pandemic or still going through the things that we're going through, trying to get a handle on the things that's going on over here. I'll put it that way.
So, Ruben.
I mean, I feel like it's safe as far as for kids, because one of the things I've realized when it comes to this variant is, last year when we had COVID first came about, one of the focuses that they had was washing your hands and making sure you keep areas clean and everything. Kids are, for the most part, they wash their hands. That's being taught while they're in school. The younger ones anyway. Maybe as they get to high school, they stop caring as much, but like washing their hands and keeping their areas clean and things like that. Kids do pretty well with that. Wearing a mask, kids do pretty well with that. It's adults that typically have issues with keeping their mask on for extended period of time and everything. Like I got kids that are in middle and preschool. I got kids that are in elementary school. Like they don't mind being in school and wearing a mask and making sure they wash their hands and following rules, following directions. Adults have a hard time following basic directions. Adults have a hard time keeping on the mask. Adults have a hard time making sure they wash their hands before they walk out of the bathroom. I've seen it one too many times when guys come out of the stall and just walk off and then grab the door handle and walk out, not even looking at the damn bathroom sink or the soap for that matter. So, with all that being said, I think overall, I should say for my kids' school district, I feel comfortable and I feel like they're safe and they're good. It may not be the same in every school district. I'm not in the Philadelphia school district, so I don't know what the ratio is as far as how many kids per classroom, teachers, and everything else. My kids' school district already had pretty small class sizes, so it's not so much where it's gonna be like 30 kids in the classroom. The max kids is like 20, 22. So it's safe based on what type of classroom environment that was there before and what type of classroom environments that they have now.
Okay, so I'm gonna touch on a couple of things that you just said, Ruben, before I give my answer. The bathroom. That is some of the most reckless shit that I have ever seen. Like
too many times, man.
Will come up, zip their pants up, and then want to give you a pound and shake your hand and be like, "How you been?" I'd be better if you go to that sink. Like I don't get that, and
wash your hands, bro.
Yeah, some nasty stuff. But then you want to shake my hand. Why do you want to give me your droplets? Okay, so I wanted to speak on that. I also want to speak on what you said about the kids. And this is factual, not my opinion. Some kids do not know how to, like, the younger ones don't know how to wash their hands in the proper way because their parents aren't teaching them that at home. Like you have professionals at these schools, daycares that do that when the kids are at school. But if the parent doesn't reinforce it at home, they're not going to do it. And then some kids just don't know before they even get to school. Like, how can you be 4 years old and you have no idea how to wash your hands? No clue. Not that you were doing it the wrong way, but nobody was forcing you to do it. So that's a big problem, I think, in every school board. I think a lot of times when these kids get to the schools, the professionals have to teach them, but they actually have to do too much because some of these parents are doing too little. And that's my opinion. Now, to the thing about, is it safe? Let's go with facts. Facts are they trying to find a way to give an injection of vaccine to kids 12 years old, around that 12 years old age. So I think they started vaccinating kids that are older than 12 years old, and they're trying to figure out how to do it for kids that's younger than 12 years old. So if what they say is true, and once again, I'm going to give another fact. I'm vaccinated. I believe in vaccinations, you know. So if what they say is true, and this virus mutates and now it's affecting the kids, because the different strain probably didn't affect the kids the same way. Like the kids would get sick and then pop back up like it was nothing. And they were the super spreaders. But the adults couldn't do it because the stuff that we do in our life, and this is my opinion, the stuff that we do in our lives really like reinforce the negative stuff that goes on in our bodies, how we eat, what we smell, what we smoke, what we drink, you know, the gas emissions, the carbon emissions, it plays a toll on our body. So I think kids, they're more so reset. They got the cheat code, you know, the pure code when they come out. And they didn't have to deal with all the stuff fighting off these diseases that we did because of the negative stuff that we did in our bodies. So to the point, is it safe? If you feel like you got to vaccinate these kids at 12 years old, then it must not be safe. But with that being said, you have reasons to worry. Let's not say it's not safe. Let's say you have reasons to worry. And Ruben brought up something about class sizes. And that's a big thing because they still recommend staying 6 feet apart from each other. How do you do it in some of these classrooms? They're too big. And then you have everybody going back. And you said you were understaffed for these classrooms anyway. So you're saying that it was more students being taught than that was supposed to. That's what that implies. So no, I don't think it's safe, but I don't think we're going to get another shutdown. Do you guys think we're going to get another shutdown? Because I don't think we're going to get another shutdown. The money's been messed up, and we know that we are a financially driven world, not just country. So I don't think we're going to hit another shutdown. You might have some in-service classes for kids, some days at school, some days rotating, but I don't think we're ever going to see a shutdown like we just saw. What do you guys think about that?
I don't think that we're gonna get another shutdown. Even if we do need one, I don't think that they're gonna kind of let us get another shutdown because of the way that it went the first time and the bailouts and things that happened. We can't afford to do that again. So no, I don't think that we're gonna get another shutdown to answer your question. But I did want to add on with another opinion point because this is just my opinion again. I
we ain't
think
scared of you, YouTube.
it is unsafe to wear a mask and keep breathing in carbon dioxide over and over again for extended periods of time every single day. I mean, if kids got to go to school, when I was working, I had to wear a mask when I was working and I had lung issues anyway. But wearing a mask while you're working, if you're doing strenuous work, you're breathing in carbon dioxide. You're breathing in what you're breathing out because the mask does not allow all of the, if you're wearing the mask the right way, you're not letting out all of the CO2 when you're breathing out and you're just breathing it back in. So if kids not running around, my boys said that they could take their mask off at lunchtime to eat and at gym time and when they go outside. But the rest of the time you in class. So you just sitting there breathing in your own carbon dioxide. That can't be healthy. That can't be good long-term for your lungs. That's just my opinion. I'm not a doctor. I don't know, but it's just common sense to me.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something else that's common sense, not to cut you off, or even Ruben off. What's common sense to me? You just said something that speaks factual. They let them take their masks off when they have gym, when they're running around, and then when they eat. Aren't they doing the same things with their class when they do those things? Like you're eating with the class, you're running around with the class, you're taking gym with the class. So if you're going to take off your mask in those instances, what's the difference between having your mask off all day?
Nothing,
Just the
because
point of view.
even when you go to a restaurant, you got to check in with your mask on, but when you sit down to eat, you can take it off. Like I don't understand that. So maybe when kids go into school, they got to have a mask on, but then when they sit down in the classroom, they can take it off because it don't spread that way, in my opinion.
Nah, I don't think. Well, I can speak for my kids. They still got to keep their mask on when they're in the classroom. The only setting that they do allow them to take it off is outside, and not even so much gym class, but outside for recess. So if unless their gym class is happening outside, I don't think I don't think they are allowing them to remove their mask.
They still got to eat lunch.
Well, they do. They do. And I mean, I think at this point now, it's still somewhat, when it comes to what the purpose of wearing the mask is, people they're still trying to figure all of it out, in my opinion. Just because, it was said initially that if you get COVID vaccine, then you don't have to wear a mask anymore. That's not the case. That doesn't matter. So it's a variant now. It's probably going to be another variant, come December. I feel like, in my opinion, COVID is just here to stay. I mean, not just my opinion. Like, the people at Pfizer already said COVID is here to stay, and you're just gonna be taking vaccines every year. So it's just, we could sit here and we could complain about it, we could debate about it, but at the end of the day, this is what it is. We just gotta deal with it. So,
That's like the flu. It ain't going nowhere, but it's so many different strains of the flu. They got so many vaccines that you got to take every year. Well, not so many that you got to take, but they give you one every year, but they don't know if that's the strain that's going to be out. So, I mean, in my opinion, that's going to be.
They did a good time. They did a good job guessing what strain was dominant for what was going on in the rest of the world.
That's over a period of time, though.
Right. That's why it changes. And that I think 3 or 4 years ago they made a mistake and they prescribed one thing and then realized that another strain of the flu was coming. But they do a good job. But you're not going to stop everything. To your point, you're not going to stop everything. You can't stop everything. And sometimes it's not the vaccine that matters the most, it's how they treat it. Like they're getting better treating COVID. The hospital beds might be packed because of the Delta variant, but they're getting better treating COVID. So because the treatment options that they're coming up with in such a period of time is only going to improve. Like a lot of people don't trust medicine. Listen, I'm like the $6 million man. They rebuilt them. They are good at what they do. So the people that are in these hospitals, they're coming up with ideas. Now, we saw a lot of people die in the beginning because they didn't know what they were doing. They were trying everything, but they just didn't know. Now they have the information and they're doing a better job. And I agree with you guys. COVID's here to stay. Just like the flu, it's going to mutate, it's going to change, it's going to affect people in different ways. And then we'll become more and more resistant to it, whether it's by vaccine or whether it's by just genetics over time. But it's here to stay.
Like you said, the better you take care of your body, the better chance it is. I mean, I know they, in the beginning, they said healthy people still passed away from it, but your chances of beating something is only greater the better you take care of your body. You can't say, I might get it, and so I'm gonna just keep on smoking and drinking. I mean, it's just better if you take care of your body is able to fight off the things that you need to fight off. Even the common cold is better to fight it off when you're in a healthier state. But the more health issues that you have, the harder it is going to be for you to fight off anything.
And then what you said is so true. And just think about this. Even before we had COVID, even before we had AIDS, people still, they knew it was negative effects with drinking and smoking all the time. They didn't have the studies, but you knew people was dying and having liver disease and all that stuff. You saw it. That's the biggest thing. When you see it, you
Yeah.
know, and they still were doing it. So those people that didn't care before, whether COVID is here now, maybe some of them changed their lifestyle, but if they're prone to live that way, they're going right back to it. You can't just expect everybody to change their lifestyle. This is what they do. And they're going to go back to it, and then they're going to die. They're going to have complications of die from something. We all die from something. It's either here, now, when, where, we don't know. Now, back to the main point, is it 100% safe for the schools? It don't even matter. Them kids was going back. It was going back. The economy is decimated right now, and not just in this country, but the rest of the world, because the rest of the world was giving out money. So it's just decimated. These kids got to go back to school. People got to go to work. Parents got to go back to work. School was a lot of the reasons that a lot of people was getting unemployment too. You had nobody to watch your kids. Everybody that didn't go to work is just lazy. You're going to pay me, and then my kids need to be watched, and I have no place to take my kids. So what am I going to do? I'm going to stay home. It's just common sense. Somebody got to take care of them. It's common sense. So now they can take that off the table. Well, it's schools and daycares are open. Now you can go back to work. And I think that's a factor in all this. Do you guys think the economy is the biggest thing driving these schools to open, even though they complain about how full these hospitals are right now?
Yeah, I mean, when you put it that way, absolutely, because you figure if you got 2, 3 kids and you don't have a babysitter for them, or you don't got a daycare for them, and they can't go to school, how exactly are you supposed to go to work? And even if you say, okay, you found a babysitter to watch them, you still have to pay that person. How much money are you really making at your job where you can afford to pay somebody to watch your kids while you go work? Like in most cases.
I'm gonna cut you off for a second because you brought up something, and I just had a random thought. And like you said, if you pay somebody, just think about this: an older person that's scared of catching COVID, they not seeing their grandkids. How many family members have not seen their family members since COVID started because they're scared of catching it?
Watch your kids.
Huh?
Say that again. Kids.
No, they're not about to watch your kids. And then now you got to find somebody that's willing to take money to watch your kid that's not family, that don't have that connection with your kid. And that's got to be hard too.
Yeah, but I think the one, if you want to say positive thing that came from it, the first shutdown is so many, even though a lot of companies did, shut down as well, but there are a lot of job opportunities right now. And jobs that you had to be super qualified for are now willing to work with you and have you have training on the job. But it's still people that's resistant against that. It's like, they're going to try to milk what they can milk out of the system. And then by the time they're done milking the system, that them jobs are going to be gone. But like right now, I think it's prime for people to start getting jobs that they probably aren't really qualified for, that are willing to pay them the type of money. Like, honestly, like I seen when I was still up in Philly, Target is paying $17 an hour. And it's like, people like, oh, I wouldn't work at Target, I wouldn't work at Walmart, but they paying $17 an hour. What other job you gonna get paying you $17 an hour? And this obviously can't be that hard of a job. But I think that was the one good thing that came out of the first shutdown.
Companies paying people a livable wage. Yeah, that's they should have been doing that.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
I mean, you can say they should have been doing it, but now is the time to do it.
Okay, so one point, you never know how bad a job is till you do it. Sometimes on the surface, a job looks easy. And then when the person starts doing it, all hell breaks loose. It's the worst job in the world. And it causes undue stress on your mind and your body. But now, needless to say, you have a great point. A lot of jobs that said you needed this, you needed that, you had to have this amount of experience. They not talking that bullshit right now. They need bodies. And a lot of these jobs, if you've noticed, have been offering incentives. We'll give you a $2,000 sign-on bonus. We raised our wages, and that's a big one. A lot of these jobs are offering more money to do the job because they need the bodies. You know, even the restaurant industry that was notorious for like paying below minimum wage, and people had to live off their tips. Oh no, they coming out like we'll start you off at $10 an hour because they need that money. So you're right. That's a positive from the pandemic. People are being held accountable on how they do stuff to make money and focusing on the employees because a lot of people that had businesses, whether they were corporations or individuals, they didn't value their employees. You can have the greatest idea as a business head ever. But if you don't have people in place to implement that idea for you in a professional way, in a smart way, in a creative way, or whatever, you're not gonna make no money. You need employees somewhere. Even if you just have an idea and somebody else does the work for you, you need employees at some point. Somebody's getting hired to do the actual labor. And that's going to be the good thing that came out of it. People are going to value their labor for a little while going forward. But still, you are going to have people milking the system, and you're going to have people that's not milking the system, but they still caught up in the system. You know, they should have started looking for jobs before September 4th. Now that they don't have the government stipend anymore, it's a little bit, it's going to get a little bit crowded, but it's not as crowded as you think because places are still begging for employees. You know,
Now it's still September, so I mean, you gotta wait and see what that look like.
well, if you just started looking in September and you knew that stuff was going to get cut off, you crazy. That's the sucker move. You're supposed to start sooner rather than later. But it's still a shortage on a lot of places. And then you have the other aspect of it where a lot of people retired during COVID because they were scared of going to work. So you have a whole generation of people that could retire and didn't. And then they decided that they were going to retire. So, I mean, a lot of people retired now and they got to fill those jobs too because they left at a quick pace. You know what I mean? So they just have to fill those jobs. So we'll see how that goes going forward. Is that me? Or is that one of you?
That's
Or is it the monarch? You know these royalty people. They do what they want. Get phone calls when they want.
That ain't me.
Yeah, but going forward,
Reminded me to put mine on vibrate.
So going forward, we're gonna all sit down here and work under the impression that we don't think these schools are like totally safe, but it doesn't matter. We're here. It's changing. Do you think if they went to virtual classes, since you two have kids, would you be for virtual classes or would you send them into school? Because that inner,
I'm 150% send them in because for one, speaking for my kids now, they prefer to be in class. They prefer to be in person. I know my one son, he doesn't do any work when he's home. I mean, he does absolutely nothing when he's home. And I'm patient, but I have zero patience when it comes to him and trying to help him with schoolwork, only because he puts no effort. And you can try to remove whatever from him, take his game, take this, take that. He's still not gonna do it. He does it when he's in school. He does it when when he's in his classroom setting, the teachers are there, he gets the work done there. But when he's home, he refused to do anything. So for that alone, like me even having a thought of maybe homeschooling him is not something that would work out because he doesn't like that. He's not gonna respond well to that. So it's better overall being able with them being able to go in there, wear a mask. And the other side is, if you're making sure that kids eat the right thing, if they're drinking water, they keeping them healthy, giving them good food to eat and everything like that, vegetables and balanced diet, not just, fast food all the time, and they're going to be fine overall. Even if they were to catch COVID, it's not going to be something that's going to kill them. Now, that again, this is my opinion, and I'm talking for my family. Now, if if your kid's not in the best of shape, and his health is already they already got different health issues, then you got a whole other issue all on its own. But as far as my household, I make sure I try to give them a balanced diet. A lot of times I make stuff that they don't necessarily care for, but I'm like, listen, you got to eat some of it. Like you gotta eat vegetables. You gotta eat. We're not gonna just try to eat pizza every day. That's not gonna work. Once a week, maybe. Fast food. I don't buy it. I don't buy them fast food. They eat it, but I don't buy it.
So let me ask you a question. Now, sometimes, just so we understand to the listeners, sometimes things pop up and you don't know you have them. You know what I mean? So there could be underlying health issues and they haven't reared their ugly head, so it hasn't popped up. But if your son was still an attentive learner at home and did all his work, would that factor in, because you said that factors in your decision to send him, would that factor in your decision to keep him home?
Wait,
if he was an attentive learner and did all his work at home and all your kids was fine with home schooling, would you be okay with them being home during this pandemic? Or would you just say, listen, I'm gonna take my chances and I want them to have that interpersonal relationship with other students and they gotta go to school?
And the thing is, like, it really comes down to household as far as like how do they personally feel. Like, I know for me, I didn't mind them being home in the beginning because it was like, yo, I don't want them getting sick and I prefer them to be home and I feel like they're safer at home. But as everything kind of progressed and I started feeling more comfortable when I myself went back to work, it was like, look, you follow, the basic directions of wearing a mask, washing your hands, keeping distance off people. Don't be super proud of faces. I haven't caught COVID during all this. And if I did, I haven't been down. I've taken several tests, tested negative on all of them. Like even if I was to get it like a half of a cold, it goes away like the following day. Like it's a real thing that we're dealing with, the pandemic. But staying home, staying away from sunlight, not exercising, not doing certain, there's so much more than just, keep my kids safe, so leave them at home so they can learn at home. Like being outside and being in the school environment, like in most cases, I know for my kids, it kind of forces them to interact with other kids, interact with other people, interact with a lot of their peers, so they can somewhat learn how to cope with everything that is going on, because they're not the only, we're dealing with it as individuals, and we're dealing with it as a community and as a country and as the world, because it's not like COVID is only in the United States. This thing is everywhere. I've been to Mexico this year. It's there. I've been to Colombia this year. It's there also. Like anywhere you go, it's still there. It's if you wear a mask, you washing your hands, and you do you do the best you can, and then you continue with life. Hiding in your house is not going to change it.
No, it's not. It's definitely not.
I don't think keeping the kids at home, is for me is the way to go.
Okay, Aaron, how do you feel about this?
What was the question?
The question is, are you okay with your kids going back to school?
I mean,
or would you prefer them to be home?
Yes and no, because I feel like that I don't necessarily think they have to be socialized through school, but I mean my kids like going to school. And as long as they're trying to be as safe and take protocol as possible, as much protocol as possible, then it's fine. Because that's what my kids want to do. If I had the option, I would keep them home, but then you run into the thing about, watching them and working at the same time. Right now, my boys, they go to school, but my partner kids, we homeschool them. And homeschooling is a task. I'm relearning some of the things I'm helping teach, which is cool. But then when you homeschool, you also get the option to gear your curriculum the way that you want them to learn and the things that you want them to learn, not necessarily all the things that they're going to teach them in school that they might not use when they get older. Of course, there's other things in that you kind of have to meet a standard for it that might not have any bearings when you get older. But that is what it is. But I like both ways, but as long as the kids are healthy and safe, I don't mind them actually going to school.
Okay, so homeschooling is fine. In some cases, it's better than going to regular schools. It's just it's hard on the parents. And to your point about relearning stuff, a lot of executives, when they try to take promotions at companies, when they take a test, the test they give you is on 7th and 8th grade math, not because they think you're stupid and want to make the test easy. They give it to you because you have to relearn something that you don't use, like fractions and mixed numerals and all this other stuff. So you're right to the point that we don't use this stuff again during the course of our life. Okay, we're going to go into who's to blame. I'm going to ask, because we're up against it again. I'm going to ask you both. The question I have is, who do you blame for the confusion? Because there's a whole lot of information going out there about kids going back to school, a lot of unanswered questions. Who do you blame for the mystery and the confusion that's going on? Ruben.
I mean,
here we go.
Honestly, you got to blame the people at the top. And it sounds redundant because every time it's like, yo, who do we blame? I blame the government.
So the people at the top is government, right?
I mean, you got to blame the government, whether it's your state or local government, or if you want to blame the federal government. It's the blame goes on them only because people are basically looking to them for directions as far as like where to go or what to do, and everything that's being done, especially in the classroom settings. And as far as like rules and regulations, it comes down from the World Health Organization and CDC and everything else. So I know when my kids started school, I got an email saying that listen, regardless of what the county area's rules are as far as masks, based on the CDC and WHO guidelines, you got to wear a mask anytime you're in the school building. So no matter what your vaccination status is, you still got to wear a mask anytime you enter the school building. So that being said, if there's any confusion, if there's any misunderstanding, if there's any of that stuff going on, it goes to the top.
Okay, so you just took 3 minutes to say the government. Bye. Aaron.
Rules and regulations go out the window. It starts at home. It's on the parents. You got to teach the kids how to take care of themselves. You got to make sure they're eating right. You got to keep them healthy. In order, if the school's open and you got to send them to school, you got to keep them home. So it's all about what the parents do and how they educate their children moving forward within the parameters of what's going on in the pandemic.
Okay, so we're up against it. I want to answer this real quick. I blame the journalist industry and the changes that they have in the world. They used to verify stories, not just take press copies and then put the information out there. So because we don't have independent newspapers like we used to, we have mega news stations, mega newspaper carriers. You don't have people that will individually surf through a story for months and then come out with a story, either denouncing it or approving it. So I blame how we do journalism in this country and how we put information out on media in this country. That's who I blame. Now, I want to thank everybody for joining us for Combustible Elements. We're out here with Facebook, Instagram. We're on podcast form. We're out here, YouTube channel. Please go look at the YouTube channel. When we say things, we keep saying in our opinion because they keep trying to take us stuff down recently. So I guess that means we moving up. I want to thank you guys for joining us. We look forward to talking to you and building that great foundation in the future. Enjoy your night. Peace.